funders. But Cuba is not yet ready to consider the notion of parametric insurance. Indeed, I'm not sure what level of insurance it's prepared to consider from ground zero, from the starting point. If you compare the events which have transpired in the Cuban water and sewer, and you compare it with other major things Cuba has attempted. For example, nuclear development. We have today a non-functional nuclear plant in Uruguay. The Soviets helped start it, but how did it end up? Defunct and non-operative. Was it Hector or Jose? One of our colleagues pointed out that only 3 of 11 waste treatment plants are operative in Cuba today. How about the status of oil development? Tremendous sums of money spent on the development of oil resources, probing deeply into the waters north of Cuba, with the result of zero. Many millions of dollars spent with no result. So, what we like to do when I undertake a task is see that the task can be brought to completion and can become operative. So number one is to inculcate the notion of sustainability together with the advancement in water and sewerage technical needs. Now, we need an accurate evaluation of the key natural factors influencing water availability. And we've had a good discussion today from Maria Donoso and also from Hector and our other colleagues about what water is like, what rainfall is like in Cuba and the principal variations. The thing that strikes you in the Cuban rainfall is that tremendous degree of variation. In a given annual cycle, you can see rainfall rates compared to the mean, which run from 8 to 1 to 20 to 1. These are tremendous variations in rainfall rates. But an accurate understanding of that rainfall will go directly to the issue of the means by which you wish to preserve the water, to store that water. Now the same should be true for understanding the effects, both intentional and unintentional, of human intervention in the water and sewerage infrastructure in Cuba. It's, when you see cholera appearing, that usually suggests that not far behind will be cryptosporidium, elevated levels of E. coli, and many other bacteria. Generally, this implies crosstalk between the sewage system and the water system. And that should be avoided, of course. Now, what level of treatment should these plants achieve? Now, we have a program here in the United States called the 301H program. In the 301H program, you can trade off level of treatment versus oceanic dilution. So this implies you would consider systems that have diffusers and go to perhaps secondary treatment at a maximum level. You would not need to go to tertiary treatment. But if you don't do this kind of trade-off, then you have to consider the higher levels of treatment. Now, the dam construction, is that positive or is that a negative? It has to be viewed not only in the short term of the creation of reservoirs, but also in the long term of sustainability. Now, withdrawal rates. Maria Donoso kindly gave us a location of where Cuba stood in terms of the world withdrawal rates amongst, was it 75 nations or so, or 150 nations? It was about number 70 or 76. But if that population of comparison were not the entire world, but rather the Caribbean nations, Cuba would rank amongst the top in rate of withdrawal in the Caribbean, rivaled only by Trinidad and Tobago. The Dominican Republic, for example, is about half of the withdrawal rate that Cuba utilizes. Now, I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, I have 3 minutes according to my clock. Is that an accurate clock?
Yes.
Fully calibrated. We have to recognize the competing water sections in Cuba, water usage sections in Cuba, and have a form that is rationally based for the allocation of those waters. We need a user fee-based system. Something like that helps greatly in the efficient usage of water. Now, we need to look for future funding circumstances. First, let us evaluate what is the status of foreign nations currently operating in Cuba. Well, a few things that come to mind are Aguas de Barcelona, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. Now, Aguas de Barcelona has a $30 million contract from the city of Havana for the operation of its water system, not maintenance, but simply the operation of the system, perhaps a little bit of maintenance. So that then comes to the next question. If we do install these new facilities, how will they be operated? Who will have that responsibility? Now, generally, large contractual firms offer some funding in some form. Many of these firms are actually associated with central banks in other countries. So some level of funding might be available. But one of the good things, by the way, about parametric insurance is it calls for pre-placement of insurance funds so that they can be delivered extremely rapidly to a working central government. That is, you have a really working central, a really working government. A government that goes across and acknowledges the fees. Central governments don't do that so well. Now, there's the issue of the bonds and loans. But in the end, a financial, 1 minute more, right? In the end, a careful financial analyst, coupled with a credible management plan, a credible ability to service the system, and a system which is based on user fees as a component part, will be the route that we can suggest for Cuba to move forward in this area. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Cody. Now we are open for any questions